Does that mean that the first pro beer that I had made for me is selling so well I need a new one?
It's time for another Homebrew to Pro Brew Day. We're back at the local brewing co today to brew another Pro Brew from one of my homebrew recipes. But what beer are we making? Why are we doing it? And what happened on the brew day? Well, you're just going to have to stick around to find out and discover what it is like to sell beer as a nomad brewer. Based on the feedback attempting to sell my dark wheat beer, it seems the dark beers are not exactly flying off the shelves at the moment as we head into the warmer weather. So today, I've revisited a recipe I've crafted before at home. A Belgian golden ale, but with a twist. So today, we're brewing a lighter version of a Belgian golden ale / triple inspired beer that's designed to be crisp, refreshing, and perfect for those sunny days. This golden ale will have a moderate strength of around 5%, clean bitterness, and some Belgian estery notes, like pepper.
Whoa! This is not the brewery. What's going on? And of course, I've got a beer here. So, what does this Belgian ale have to do with that? Or this Belgian triple? So today's beer is inspired by beers like this. And so while I really love Belgian beers, they are some of my favorite types of beers in the entire world. But they can be quite strong in alcohol. And sometimes you just don't want to have 8% all the time. And so the idea was a more drinkable, more sessionable, not as strong. So imagine a strong Belgian golden ale, reduce it down to 5%. So, it's a malty backbone, but it's more, like your German lager strength sort of thing. So while yes, it's malty, it's not overpoweringly malty and not heavy on the alcohol malty. Add in some of those Belgian phenolics from the Belgian yeast, something like that pepper. I've had some beers that are really crisp and refreshing and have had that sort of peppery, yeasty note. Add that in, add in some smooth, crisp bitterness, and that is the idea behind this beer. It's a drinkable beer with still some of those Belgian characteristics about it. Is easy to drink and I think is really great when you want something crisp and refreshing.
To get us to our 5% today, we're going with a mix of Pilsner malt and aromatic malt. The Pilsner malt will give us the backbone for the beer and a crisp malty character, and the aromatic malt will just add a little bit of a malty bodiness to the beer. We added brewing salts into the mash water to ensure a good mash pH. The target water profile for today's beer was aimed at achieving a pale beer with soft mouthfeel and a balance between malt and hops. While the maltiness of this beer is a feature, I want to make sure that the crisp bitterness from the hops also comes through as well. It was around this time we decided to eat some of the malt and give it a go. And to be honest, it was like having grainy, sweet cereal, but without the milk. Then it was mash time. We went with a single temperature mash profile, balancing body and fermentability. Despite only using barley, we also added rice hulls to ensure a good sparge. Also, make sure you don't get caught up Malt Creek without a paddle, otherwise it could turn ugly. We checked the pH of the mash and all was good. After mashing for some time, some wort and grain was pumped up into the Lauter tun to allow the wort to recirculate throughout the system. This allows the wort to clear up. If you want to know more about how brewing works on a Pro Brew system such as this, I recommend checking out my first Pro Brew Day for my first craft beer. The link will be in the description below. Once the mash was finished, the wort and grains were pumped up into the Lauter tun, where the wort was allowed to drain from the grains and hot water used to rinse any remaining sugars off those grains as well. It slowly dripped back into the mash tun. As you can see, the combination of the Lauter and sparging process plus the recirculation during the mash cleared the beer up. One of the fun things to do when making beer is to try the wort at various points throughout the brewing process. Tasting the wort after mashing and before the boil, before any hops were added in, revealed a sweet, honey-like character in the beer, which I thought tasted great and also sweet and malty. just as we were about to begin the boil, we added in some more brewing salts. These are the chloride and sulfate salts that are aimed at getting either maltiness, hoppiness, or a balance of the two. These are added after the mash, because if they are added before the mash, they can be absorbed by the grains and not make it into the final beer. For this beer, I'm using Magnum hops, a high alpha acid, smooth bittering hop, to provide around 30 to 35 IBUs of bitterness. One suggestion I was given on the day was to dry hop this beer. It did get me thinking, should I dry hop this beer or should I not? But what I want to know is, would you dry hop this beer? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. I'm going to make a follow-up video where I brew a dry hop version of this beer at home and then taste it to determine whether I want to dry hop it or not. The only catch? It needs to all be done within 2 weeks to be able to dry hop the pro beer in time. So hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out on what happens next. One of the downsides of contracting out beer production is that I don't get to brew the beer myself. Despite this, however, there is one thing I absolutely love about not having to brew the beer myself, and that is cleaning. I mean, just look at that. That does not look anything resembling fun. There's also a lot more waiting around doing nothing when brewing on a pro system compared to homebrew. Because you're working with larger volumes, there's just more volume to heat, more wort to transfer, and this just takes longer than when doing on a small homebrew system. At least I had the steam to look at to get me through the downtime boredom. Plus getting to try a few sneaky samples of some of the other beer they had fermenting away. With the boil nearly done, it was time to chuck in some findings and start getting the fermenters ready for transfer. The wort was again tasted after the boil. It was sweet and malty with a honey vibe, but also bitter. And yes, before you ask, I met all 3 conditions to enter. I had Authoritar, I was a personnel, and I have OnlyFans. Haha, just kidding. I've only got the last one. And finally, once all the wort had been transferred into the fermenter, it was time to pitch a literal brick of yeast. So I'm using a Belgian variety for this beer. Well, you know, because I'm making a Belgian beer, so you kind of got to use some Belgian yeast if you want to do that. I do want some estery character in this beer. Now the homebrew this is based off didn't have too strong an estery character actually. It was quite restrained in a way, especially compared to some strong Belgian beers. So will it turn out too strong with the esters, or will we just hit that right balance? You're going to just have to stay tuned to the upcoming tasting of this beer when it is finally done. If you've enjoyed seeing me take my homebrew to pro brew, then be sure to watch one of these other videos on your screen now where we explore some more craft beer. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that you can see more craft beer explorations like these. So until the next time, cheers.